guys, thank you so much for tuning into Mom with me. If you can see, my background is very different today. I'm on my lunch. I'm on my lunch break, and so this is the only time I could film today. It's a little cloudy today. It's not so sunny, but we gotta work with what we gotta work with, huh? So my video is going to be about this video is going to be about breastfeeding again. This is the last part in my breastfeeding series that I got going on. It's basically just a breastfeeding Q&A. So I had some moms send me some questions, and some stuff is not questions. I'll just kind of talk about it, but I'm going to try to get through this video quickly. I don't want this video to be too long, so if I'm talking too fast, I'm sorry. If you'd like to see what questions I was asked and just learn a little bit more about breastfeeding and my journey, then keep on watching. So let me say that none of these questions are in order. Everything is all over the place. Also, by the way, I do know that I have little hairs all over the place. Sorry guys if it bothers you. Noah at one point was pulling my hair, and if you know, when you have a baby, your hair falls out. So that's basically just my hair trying to grow back in, and it's growing back all funky in all types of ways, and I try to do something about it, but I can't. If anybody has any recommendations, leave it in the comment box down below. Let's get started. First question is how to remain strong the entire way. Basically for me, how I remain strong, like I mentioned in a previous video, using words of affirmation, you know, having a good support system, whether it be your partner, friends, family. Also adding groups on Facebook in regards to breastfeeding. I think that's a good support as well. Also good to see other moms going through the same struggles that you're going through. Breast Bottle and Beyond, like I mentioned in my other groups, helped me so much. It's a great source. It's one of the big reasons why I'm still breastfeeding till today. They always told me never to quit on a bad day, and as soon as I would put, you know, like, I'm having a bad day, I just need some words of encouragement, I really want to quit, so many moms would jump on my posts and say such beautiful words and encourage me that it really pushed me to keep going. So basically I would say just find what makes you, what triggers your inner strength. You know, for me it was telling myself those things, not quitting on a bad day, and also going on those Facebook groups and just asking for words of encouragement, because sometimes you just need to hear it. You know that you're doing good, but sometimes you just need to hear it from somebody else, you know. How to increase supply is the next question. Nothing worked for me, to be completely honest with you. What did work for me was reducing my level of stress, drinking water, make sure that I took in as much calories as possible. Not as possible, but because when your child breastfeeds, they're essentially draining the life out of you. So you want to make sure that you're eating and keeping up with your calories. I can give you some recommendations or some suggestions of some things that I've tried that other moms swear by. You can try oatmeal, steel cut oats, which is essentially oatmeal, water, almonds, malt Ovaltine I used, or I tried, and I would usually drink that with coconut milk or almond milk, either one. Gatorade, the blue flavor is what moms swear by. You could try dark beer, malted beverages like Malta. I tried Malta. I think Malta worked for me a little bit, but I couldn't really tell the difference, to be honest with you. Coconut water, fenugreek, which is also in mother's milk tea. Mother's milk tea actually decreased my supply, so I would be very careful with that. It also gave my son a lot of gas, so I had to stop using it. And lactation cookies you can try. Fuck, stop doing that. Sorry about that interruption. My sister freaking scared the crap out of me. This is like the second time she freaking does it. I don't remember what I was saying about lactation cookies, but that's another thing you can try. I tried the ones from Target that were already made. You can try making them your own. They have a no-bake lactation cookie recipe on Pinterest, I believe. I always wanted to try to make it, but I barely have freaking time to shower sometimes. Don't worry guys, I do shower, but I barely have time to. But much less time to be fucking Betty Crocker. So excuse my French, but I do curse. Sorry, that's just how I talk. Anyway, they didn't work. So those are just some things that I tried. I also want to mention not to supplement before 12 weeks. You want your body to, you want your body to produce based on what your baby is taking in. Just don't recommend supplementing before 12 weeks. So I wouldn't suggest trying any of these things before the 12 weeks. Your body is still going through a process where it's overproducing, and so those 12 weeks are crucial in your body learning, you know, how much it needs to produce so that you're not overproducing all this extra milk. That's why it gets to a point where your boobs don't feel super full anymore, because you're now making enough for your baby, enough for, you know, what your baby's going to drink for the day and so on. Next question: being comfortable breastfeeding around others. This is not really a question. This is more like a general kind of like statement of like, you know, how do I feel comfortable? I think it was mainly just because from the beginning I knew this is something that I wanted to do, and I would always tell myself, this is what I'm doing. I don't care who has a problem with it. When you eat, you don't think about where you're at. You don't think about whatever. Like, when you're hungry, so you eat anywhere at any time or whatever. So that's basically how it is when I'm with Noah. I will feed him anywhere. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care who's around. If it bothers you, sorry not sorry, you can go somewhere else. That's just my thought process when it comes to breastfeeding, and there's nothing that can change my mind on that. I'm feeding my child. I use several methods that I mentioned in other videos, that I mentioned in my breastfeeding journey and also in my breastfeeding must-haves. So that's usually what I would do. I don't cover myself completely just because he gets super hot. It's uncomfortable for me. But I also don't just pop my entire boob out and just leave it hanging out. If you're a mom that does that, for real, you're a badass. More power to you. I wish that I could do that. It's not that I'm uncomfortable with it, but I feel like there's other ways that I can feed him that's comfortable for me. So I don't necessarily have to do that. But if you do that, more power to you. And if you do cover, more power to you as well. I know some people are just not comfortable doing it around people. I personally do not care. I will do it wherever, whatever, however, whoever is around. If I'm in a position where I can be in a room and it's an option for me, then I would do that. But for me, not because anybody else feels uncomfortable about it, because I don't give a shit how you feel, to be honest. Sorry, not sorry. That's just my way of thinking. Again, because I'm feeding my son, so I don't feel bad about it. But for example, like if I'm at my sister's house, or my mom's house, or a friend's house, and I know that there's a room available, I'll go. And like I said, not for anybody else. I go for me, because me personally, I love to breastfeed comfortably. Like when I'm home, I would much rather breastfeed on my bed with my boob out, comfortable, with my legs up, like chilling. You know, I hate to be wearing 1,000 clothes and, you know, having to hide and put the bib on and this and that, you know, like, so if I can go to a room and be comfortable, then that's what I'm going to do, you know, and again, it's not for anybody else, it's for me. So I really don't have a problem breastfeeding in front of other people. I always just see it as for what it is, like I'm feeding my son. So, I mean, if anybody has a problem, they can kick rocks. And that's just how I feel. Pumping output, is it the same as the baby gets? No, it is not. When you pump, it does not mean that that's what your baby is taking out when breastfeeding. The pump is not as efficient as your baby is. Therefore, you're always going to, not always, but you'll get probably a little bit less with a pump than what your baby actually takes in. If you want to double check on that or verify how much your baby is getting, you may want to go to a WIC office and do a weigh and feeding, or buy a scale, and you can weigh your baby before feed and then weigh the baby after the feed, just so you see how many ounces your baby's actually taking in. You necessarily have to be on a diet when you're breastfeeding. No, you do not. Your body is always going to pull out the nutrients that the baby needs. So, I mean, that doesn't mean you have to eat cheeseburgers and McDonald's every single day, but it also doesn't mean that you have to eat salads and vegetables and chicken breasts, you know, 24/7. I, for one, am not the healthiest eater. I should be, but if you know anything about breastfeeding, your baby's stuck on your boob 24/7, you barely have time to eat, barely have time to shower, you'll grab the first thing that's next to you, and usually it's either a freaking snack or it may be a burger, you know, whatever's quickest and whatever's gonna get you full at the moment. So don't feel pressured to have to eat healthy. If you have the means to be a healthy eater, by all means go right ahead. You know, it does not hurt any but don't beat yourself up if you had McDonald's that day because you really couldn't eat anything else, you know. Next question is, how do you know the baby's getting enough? Really, it comes down to the dirty and wet diapers. Make sure that they're having enough dirty and wet diapers for the day. I believe it's 6 to 8 when they're smaller, and then that count goes down a little bit less as they grow. Just make sure that they obviously are not pale, lethargic, you know, dehydrated. Check the diaper. For Noah, at least, I would know that he was eating enough because he was gaining weight, which not necessarily is the case because he did go through a phase where he did not gain any weight. He stayed at the same weight, but I know he was getting enough because he was just really chunky. He was a healthy looking baby, you know. Thankfully he hasn't had any issues. But for me, it was that, also checking his diaper count, and just I would let him feed until he popped off, and I would feed on demand. So anytime he was hungry, I fed him. I did not put him on a schedule where he was eating every 2 hours or every 3 hours. I just let him eat. However, that helps your supply a great deal, and it also, I don't know, I feel like Noah's such a happy baby because of that. To be honest with you, I've never waited until Noah cried to feed him. I always followed his cues when he was rooting, or when I just saw that he seemed like he was hungry. When I had him close to me, he was searching for my boob, I fed him. Because you know, if he's not hungry, if that's not what he wants, he will let me go, or he wouldn't even put it in his mouth. So that's that. How to avoid thrush, to be honest with you, I don't know. I never got thrush, so I don't know what it is. Mainly for me, I think it's all to do with hygiene. I mean, just make sure that you're changing your breast pads often. You don't leave soaking wet breast pads on, or if your bra is wet, don't just sit with it wet. Change your diaper. Change your bra. Make sure you always have a dry bra on. Make sure you wipe yourself every time. Not every time, but just make sure you wipe yourself like after you pump and stuff like that, so you don't retain any moisture in there and you don't create any bacteria, things like that. That's really what has helped me, and thankfully, knock on wood, wherever it's at, I haven't gotten thrush. So besides that, I really don't know how you would avoid it. I'm sorry, but that's what I did, and I haven't gotten it. Last question, what to use for bleeding nipples? I never got bleeding nipples or cracked nipples. The most that I got was sore nipples, which I would use lanolin from Lansano. I would use coconut oil, and I would also use my own breast milk, which is the best thing to use. You would just put it on, express a little bit, put it on your nipple, and then let it air dry completely. I would say coconut oil worked the best for me, and I think it was just because I didn't do the breast milk thing quite often, but they all worked. Also from the Breast Bottom Beyond website, or not website, group, I learned of Apno Cream. It's all-purpose nipple ointment. That's the abbreviation for it, and basically it's polysporin, which you would need to use a brand name, Monistat, and what was the other one? Cortisone. And those can be generics. You just mix equal parts of all three of them, and you basically use it for however long you need to until your nipples are healed, and then that's it. You need to make sure you wipe, you know, your nipple when you use anything. Even though lanolin and the coconut oil is safe, I always wipe my nipple before I would feed him, just as a precaution. I mean, I was just super paranoid all the time. So anyway, that was it. If I missed something, if there's something else that you wanted to know about, leave it down in the comment box below. This is it for my breastfeeding series. I am planning on making more videos in the future. One for sure when I wean him, just to talk about how it went for me weaning him, and another one, maybe an update on extended breastfeeding if he's still breastfeeding. I mean, I'm not planning on continuing to breastfeed, but I also did not plan to breastfeed him for 15 months, and here I am. So I'll kind of give like an update if I feel like it's been another month or two and we're still going. So, you know, I'll let you know my struggles or what's going on. You know, next video I'm gonna film is going to be a November favorites. I know we're already in the beginning of December, but I was in New York. It was a super busy, crazy weekend. It was super hectic. I was supposed to film it before I left, and I didn't. So I'm gonna try to film that tonight, because I feel like it'll be fun to show you guys what worked for me and what was good for me, or what I liked. It's gonna be like Noah and my faves for the month. So I'll try to film these a little sooner for the next ones to come. Ooh. But right now I'm gonna try to film that, and that way it'll be up for you guys hopefully tomorrow, or I'll try to film it this weekend, so it'll be up a little bit later. If you guys have any suggestions on any future videos you'd like to see, or like I said, if there's anything in regards to breastfeeding that I did not touch on any of these 3 videos, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment box below. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe. That's it for today. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.